Now, the next round of exams for obtaining the provisional hero license has begun. So, all the contestants are running quickly to rescue the civilians, because this time's task is for them to quickly earn as many points as possible. Suddenly, Midoriya hears a child crying, so he immediately runs over to help. Unexpectedly, he gets scolded for not caring about his own injuries first. Meanwhile, others are coordinating very well with each other to find those who need help. This contestant is named Mora. His quirk is Extendo Hair. It helps him sweep away the surrounding debris. Meanwhile, Shindo's group has also begun rescuing people. At this time, the little boy is still guiding Midoriya's group, so they can coordinate with each other, making Midoriya remember All Might. Thus, he calms himself down, and he comforts the boy. Everyone starts acting together. At this moment, Ochako is still watching Midoriya. She realizes that she loves Midoriya, but Ochako has to suppress these feelings, and she must try harder to be like Midoriya. So, Ochako takes action as well. But Mera is preparing a surprise for the contestants. At this time, Inasa is very excited, so he uses his quirk to rescue people. They realize Inasa controls the wind very well, but he still loses points because he was too hasty. Momo's group discovers a person trapped, so Ochako intends to use her quirk to rescue him. But she is stopped by Momo because if the rock is pulled out, it will collapse. So everyone starts to work together, making the old man pleased. At this time, Midoriya's class also coordinates with other classes, and they manage to save many people. Meanwhile, Bakugo sees two injured people, making him angry because they are too noisy, scaring them. At this time, Midoriya has brought the boy to the shelter. Suddenly, the city continues to have explosions, making everyone surprised because they are under attack. Midoriya realizes he is the number 10 pro hero, Gang Orca. He is a very strong hero, with an appearance most resembling a villain. So, he immediately orders his subordinates to surround them. Aizawa realizes that this exam is very difficult, because they have to rescue people and fight simultaneously. That is the responsibility of a hero. At this moment, all the students are very worried, because they haven't finished rescuing the civilians yet. But, the heroes playing the role of villains have appeared, making their exam even more challenging. It turns out the exam for the provisional hero license this time. The Hero Public Safety Commission wants to select outstanding students. So, they decided to test the candidates' real combat abilities, and anyone scoring below 50 points will be eliminated. At this moment, Gang Orca and his subordinates are rushing toward the civilians. So, Shindo immediately blocks them. Unexpectedly, he is attacked by Gang Orca, causing Shindo to faint. It turns out Gang Orca's quirk is Orsinus, which grants him the abilities of a killer whale. So, he produces ultrasonic waves that paralyze Shindo. Meanwhile, Midoriya is worried. Luckily, Shoto arrives in time to support him. At this time, Midoriya's class also arrives, so they help Midoriya protect everyone. Suddenly, Inasa appears and attacks Gang Orca. But when he sees Shoto, makes Inasa uncomfortable. Shoto realizes that Inasa hates him, so they cannot cooperate. Suddenly, both of them attack Gang Orca together, but their attacks cancel each other out, making both of them angry and blaming each other. While Shoto is distracted, they attack him. Gang Orca realizes they are at odds with each other. It turns out Inasa dislikes Shoto because he is Endeavor's son. Since childhood, Inasa has admired Endeavor greatly, but Endeavor refused to give him an autograph, making Inasa feel that he is very cold. Later, Inasa met Shoto at the academy, but Inasa saw that Shoto was as cold as his father. When Shoto learns the reason why Inasa dislikes him, it makes him uncomfortable, because Shoto doesn't want to be like Endeavor. Gang Orca starts to lose patience with both of them, because they keep canceling each other's attacks. Accidentally, Shoto's fire flies towards Shindo. Luckily, Midoriya managed to save him in time. This makes Midoriya angry, because their argument put others in danger. At this moment, Inasa remembers the time he participated in the academy's entrance exam. He saw that Shoto was very strong, so Inasa wanted to be friends with him, but Shoto acted very coldly. At this moment, Shoto also remembered, the reason he didn't care about Inasa before, was because he was consumed by hatred towards Endeavor. Suddenly, Gang Orca attacked them, causing Inasa to be paralyzed and fall. Shoto was also immediately paralyzed by him. But, both of them realized their mistakes. When Gang Orca's subordinates were chasing the civilians, Shindo immediately created Vibrate to block them. So, Midoriya and Shindo began to cooperate. Meanwhile, Shoto and Inasa both realized their mistakes. Thus, he releases his fire. Inasa also uses his quirk whirlwind in Shoto's direction, creating an enormous flame to attack Gang Orca, making him surprised. Because they are paralyzed but still try to use their quirks, he realizes both of them have recognized their mistakes, so they are trying to make amends. Meanwhile, Midoriya's group is stopping Gang Orca's subordinates, and they are still trying to rescue the civilians. At this moment, Suyu's group has arrived to help Midoriya. Unexpectedly, students from Shiketsu also came to help them, while Midoriya is looking towards Gang Orca. Although he is surrounded by Shoto's flames, he easily breaks free, surprising Shoto and Inasa. When he was about to catch them, suddenly, Midoriya immediately attacked Gang Orca, making Gang Orca surprised. However, the whistle announcing the end of the exam has sounded. It turns out that all the civilians have been successfully rescued, so the candidates have completed the exam and will be graded. Meanwhile, Gang Orca recognizes that the attacks from Shoto and Midoriya are very impressive. At this moment, Mera begins to announce the candidates' scores, making Midoriya anxious. Luckily, Midoriya sees his name on the result board, and Midoriya's friends are also on the list, making them very happy. But Bakugo finds his name missing. Both Inasa and Shoto do not see their names either, making them disappointed. Suddenly, Inasa approaches Shoto. Unexpectedly, he apologizes to Shoto because his selfishness dragged Shoto down. But Shoto says that they are both at fault. This surprises everyone, because Shoto and Inasa are both top students but still failed. Meanwhile, Bakugo is very angry. At this moment, Mera announces and hands out everyone's score sheets. Unexpectedly, Momo scores 94 points. Lita gets 80 points and Midoriya receives 71 points, making them very happy. But Midoriya still doesn't understand why Shoto and Inasa failed. Mera announces that students who are granted the provisional hero license will be able to fight villains. And Mera says that the students who failed still have another chance. They must complete a special training course within 3 months. This immediately lifts the spirits of Bakugo, Inasa and Shoto, making Midoriya's group very happy. By the afternoon, Midoriya is holding the provisional hero license in his hands, making him very happy. So, Midoriya immediately calls to inform his mother and All Might. Meanwhile, Inasa and Shoto are getting friendlier with each other. Although Inasa says, "I still hate you," everyone feels that Inasa is a very interesting person. At this moment, Midoriya inquires about the girl named Kami, because Midoriya has something he wants to ask her, but Kami has already left. It turns out Kami was actually Himiko from the League of Villains in disguise. At this moment, they are scolding her for going out on her own and not informing Tamura, because they are afraid she might get caught. But Himiko says she has obtained Midoriya's blood. It turns out that the quirk transform is shape-shifting. It allows her to become anyone by using their blood. On All Might's side, he has gone to meet All for One, because All Might has something he wants to ask him. At this time, All for One is imprisoned in a very secure room. If he even thinks about using his quirk, he will be shot immediately. It turns out that this place is the most secure prison in the world. It was built to eliminate dangerous villains from society. At this time, All for One continuously taunts All Might, because All Might's current state is so pitiful. But All Might doesn't care and asks where Tamura is. And All Might doesn't understand All for One's purpose, so All for One says, All Might's goal is to become a hero of justice, while he wants to become the king of evil. But he was defeated by All Might, so now he can only live relying on support devices, and that is why he wants Tamura to become his successor. At this moment, All Might realizes, All for One wants to train Tamura to kill All Might, making All Might angry and say, I will not let Tamura kill me, and I will never die, because I won't let your plan come true. With that, All Might left, making All for One very amused. At this moment, All Might received a message from Midoriya, which made him very happy. In the evening, while Midoriya wondered if All Might had seen his message, suddenly, Bakugo walked past Midoriya and said, I want to know about your quirk, surprising Midoriya. While everyone else was sleeping, Midoriya went outside the dormitory with Bakugo. He didn't understand where Bakugo was taking him. Unexpectedly, Bakugo led Midoriya to the place where they first trained. At this moment, Bakugo didn't understand why Midoriya used to be quirkless, but now Midoriya has gained a very powerful quirk, even surpassing him. So, Bakugo realized and asked, did you get your quirk from All Might? It turns out Bakugo already knew, All for One can steal other people's quirks, so, Bakugo is certain that Midoriya's quirk came from All Might. This makes Midoriya worried, because Bakugo has figured everything out. While Bakugo is very frustrated, because he has always idolized All Might. But All Might chose Midoriya, someone he always looked down on, so Bakugo said, "Fight me right now." This made Midoriya worried, because they can't fight here. But Bakugo is determined to fight Midoriya. So, Bakugo immediately charged at him to attack. Midoriya realized Bakugo would use his right hand first, so he dodged Bakugo's attack, making Bakugo even angrier, and he continuously attacked Midoriya, destroying the school's training area. At this moment, Midoriya is trying to persuade Bakugo, but Bakugo still doesn't stop, because since childhood, Midoriya has always followed him. However, now Midoriya has surpassed Bakugo, which made him very uncomfortable. Unexpectedly, Midoriya managed to knock Bakugo down, so he immediately went to help Bakugo up. But Bakugo doesn't want to accept Midoriya's help. It turns out Bakugo is full of regret, because All Might had to retire due to saving him. Midoriya realized. All this time, Bakugo had been tormenting himself. Now, Midoriya understands Bakugo's feelings, so Midoriya decided to fight him. Bakugo continued to attack Midoriya. Although Midoriya predicted Bakugo's attacks, he still got hit by Bakugo. At this moment, Midoriya realizes Bakugo has improved a lot since before. It turns out Bakugo had always looked down on and bullied Midoriya. But Midoriya had worked hard to surpass him. This is why Bakugo is angry. When Midoriya understands what Bakugo thinks of him, it makes him angry and he uses One for All, so he charges at Bakugo. Unexpectedly, Midoriya has activated 8% of One for All's power, and he kicks Bakugo, causing Bakugo to be pushed back. At this moment, both are extremely angry. They continuously fight each other with all their might, while Midoriya keeps analyzing Bakugo. It turns out Midoriya is tricking Bakugo, making him think he is only attacking with his legs. Unexpectedly, Midoriya punches him in the face. But Bakugo still doesn't want to lose to Midoriya, so he throws Midoriya to the ground. In the end, Bakugo wins and asks, "Why do you still lose to me even with All Might's power?" Suddenly, All Might appears to stop them. It turns out he has heard everything about their fight, which surprised both of them. Bakugo asked, "Why did you choose Deku?" So, All Might told Bakugo, although Midoriya was quirkless, he is suitable to be a hero. However, Bakugo still blamed All Might for not choosing him, so All Might comforted Bakugo, because he knows Bakugo is very strong, and he could become a hero. Thanks to All Might's words, Bakugo calmed down and told Midoriya, "You better not lose to me." Midoriya replied, "I will become stronger to beat you." At this moment, All Might decided to tell Bakugo everything, so Bakugo promised to keep the secret and help him and Midoriya. When Bakugo and Midoriya returned to the dormitory, they were scolded by Aizawa, because they had fought each other without permission. So, Aizawa decided to punish both of them by making them clean the dormitory. The next morning, everyone was surprised, because Midoriya and Bakugo were being punished. At this moment, Midoriya asked Bakugo about his new move. Unexpectedly, Bakugo said that Midoriya had too many unnecessary movements, making Midoriya very happy, because Bakugo was being more friendly with him. At this moment, the League of Villains had scattered everywhere to search for new members, but Dabi saw these people as too weak, so he decided to eliminate them. Suddenly, Twice spotted a group of very strong villains, and their leader's name is Overhaul, so Twice decided to recruit him. On Midoriya's side, he is still working hard to train. Midoriya realizes he needs to become even stronger to continue using One for All. At this moment, Nato is mocking Class A of Midoriya, because he knows Class A had 2 people fail the Provisional Hero License exam, while Class B all passed, making Shoto disappointed. When everyone enters the classroom, Aizawa announces that soon they will have hero work studies, and they will be officially interning at hero agencies. After they obtain the Provisional Hero License, they will participate in more practical courses with professional heroes. By the afternoon, Mineta was teasing Bakugo, because he hadn't cleaned properly, making Bakugo angry and blaming Midoriya. At this moment, Midoriya sees everyone discussing some kind of internship, which makes him curious, but Aizawa doesn't allow Lita to tell him about it, because Midoriya and Bakugo were grounded. Midoriya was still curious about the internship, which made Midoriya uncomfortable, because he felt like he was falling behind. Suddenly, Midoriya saw a face on the wall, which surprised him, but the person kept disappearing and reappearing. Midoriya didn't know who he was, but the person said Midoriya would meet him again soon, so he left, leaving Midoriya puzzled. Finally, Midoriya's grounding period ended. But Bakugo was still grounded for one more day, thus, Midoriya went back to school right away, making him very happy. So, Midoriya asked Lita to tell him about the internship. Suddenly, Aizawa appeared. Thus, everyone went back to their places. It turned out he wanted to introduce the top 3 students of the school. They were called the Big Three, which surprised Midoriya. Everyone realized they were the top 3 among the top students, and they were candidates to become professional heroes. But, Mineta only paid attention to the beautiful girl among them. Suddenly, Midoriya realized. This guy was the one Midoriya had met the day before. At this moment, Aizawa asked the Big Three to introduce themselves. Suddenly, everyone felt the pressure from Tamaki's gaze, and he imagined everyone as potatoes. It turned out he was anxious and wanted to go home, because he didn't know what to say to everyone. Nijire then introduced him for him. Unexpectedly, she talked a lot, because she found everyone's appearance very interesting, which made Aizawa uncomfortable. So, Mirio introduced himself. Everyone thought all 3 were very eccentric. Mirio realized their introductions had failed to impress, so, he told everyone to fight him, which surprised them, because he felt that practical experience would be better. At this moment, everyone was still surprised, because they would be fighting against the top students of the school, but they were still very confident, because they had fought alongside professional heroes against villains before. Mirio saw Midoriya step forward, which pleased him greatly, so, Midoriya used one for all, while everyone else was also ready to fight Mirio. As Midoriya rushed forward, suddenly, Mirio's clothes slipped off. This shocked everyone. Taking advantage of the situation, Midoriya attacked him. Unexpectedly, Midoriya's kick passed through Mirio's body. Midoriya realized that Mirio's quirk was permeation, so, they couldn't land a hit on him. Moreover, Mirio moved very quickly, making it impossible for everyone to keep up with his speed. He quickly defeated each member of Midoriya's class, which amazed Midoriya. Aizawa told Shoto that Mirio was the closest to being the #1 hero. At this moment, everyone realized. Not only was Mirio's quirk very powerful, but his fighting skills were also excellent. Suddenly, Midoriya said that Mirio must have a trick, because he couldn't both use permeation and attack them, so they had to cooperate with each other. Mirio continued to charge forward. Suddenly, he disappeared and reappeared behind Midoriya. Thus, Midoriya kicked him, but Midoriya's kick passed through Mirio's body, and Mirio punched Midoriya in the stomach. Then, Mirio continued to attack the others very quickly. They were all defeated by Mirio. At this point, Midoriya's class had lost to Mirio. They couldn't even land a single hit on him, so they thought it was because Mirio's quirk was too strong. Mirio explained to them. His quirk is permeation. It allows him to pass through walls or the ground, but his quirk has a weakness. When he uses permeation, he becomes disoriented. He can't even perceive everything around him. So, he has to constantly guess and analyze everything. At this moment, everyone was amazed, because Mirio can overcome the weakness in his quirk. They need to practice more. After Mirio's group left, Midoriya realized. Mirio trained diligently to be at the top of the academy. At this point, Nijire asked Mirio who he was most impressed with. It turns out he was impressed with Midoriya, because he had kept up with his speed. By evening, Bakugo was cleaning up trash, while the girls were very admiring of Mirio, because he is very strong. At this point, Midoriya had called Gran Torino to ask if he could intern with him, but Gran Torino was very busy, so he told Midoriya to ask All Might, because All Might could introduce Midoriya to a former colleague of his, Sir Night Eye. At this moment, Twice was bringing Overhaul to the League of Villains base. Tamura just saw Overhaul. It made him very intrigued, because he sensed that Overhaul was very strong. It turns out Tamura realized that Overhaul is the leader of the Shi Hasaikai organization. It's a very renowned Yakuza organization. Himiko didn't understand the difference between the League of Villains and the Yakuza. It turns out the Yakuza is a collection of gangs that manage the underworld, but, with the appearance of All Might, their era came to an end, so, now they are only considered a part of the past. At this moment, Overhaul informed them. After the battle between All Might and All for One ended, All Might had to retire, while All for One was imprisoned, so currently, Light and Darkness still have no ruler. And he wanted to know who the next king would be. Tamura realized he was being provoked, so, Tamura said, I am the next ruler. But, Overhaul criticized Tamura's past failures, and he said he had a very excellent plan, so, he wanted Tamura's League of Villains to work for him, to help him become the next ruler. Thus, Tamura ordered Magna to attack him. Unexpectedly, as soon as Magna touched Overhaul, Magna immediately exploded. It surprised them. Mr. Compress immediately angrily attacked him, but he was shot in the hand, which prevented him from using his quirk, so he also lost an arm to Overhaul. Tamura decided to attack him. Unexpectedly, he used his subordinates as shields, so Overhaul's subordinates appeared. Tamura realized he had been prepared from the start. Suddenly, Overhaul decided to leave, because he needed Tamura to calm down before continuing discussions. Meanwhile, Twice and Himiko were very eager to kill Overhaul, because he had killed Magna, but Tamura said it wasn't the right time yet, because Tamura realized he could take advantage of Overhaul. The next morning, Midoriya remembered that All Might would introduce him to Sir Night-Eye, which surprised All Might, but All Might refused, because his relationship with Sir Night-Eye was currently very awkward. However, Midoriya was still determined to ask All Might, because he needed to become stronger quickly, so All Might called Mirio to his office. At this point, Mirio didn't understand why All Might wanted to see him. It turns out Mirio was currently interning at Sir Night-Eye's office, which surprised Midoriya. So, All Might asked Mirio to help get Midoriya a position working with Sir Night-Eye. It confused him why All Might had to ask him. So, All Might said he had once made a mistake by not heeding Sir Night-Eye's advice. At this point, Mirio asked Midoriya, "What kind of hero do you want to become?" Which made Midoriya remember his childhood. He had always wanted to become a hero like All Might, and he didn't want anyone to worry about him anymore. So, Midoriya said, "I want to become the greatest hero," which made Mirio very satisfied with Midoriya. Thus, he agreed to help Midoriya. At this moment, All Might recalled, previously, the principal had introduced Mirio to All Might to be a potential successor for One for All, because Mirio always had an unending smile. So, All Might thought, if he had not met Midoriya, Mirio might have become his successor. The next morning, Mirio took Midoriya to Sir Night-Eye's office, which made Midoriya very nervous, because Sir Night-Eye was a famously strict hero. At this point, Mirio advised Midoriya, if you don't want to fail the interview, then, you at least have to make Sir Night-Eye smile once. So, Mirio took Midoriya to Sir Night-Eye's office. Unexpectedly, when Midoriya entered the room, he saw Sir Night-Eye tickling his subordinate, making her unable to stop laughing. Suddenly, Sir Night-Eye looked towards Midoriya, which surprised him, because he was a former sidekick of All Might. But, Midoriya tried to regain his composure, and he put on a face similar to All Might's. It turns out Midoriya had always practiced smiling like All Might. Unexpectedly, Sir Night-Eye became angry, because he thought Midoriya was mocking All Might, and Sir Night-Eye criticized Midoriya for his imitation not being accurate. Suddenly, Midoriya realized Sir Night-Eye was also a huge fan of All Might. As Sir Night-Eye was about to send Midoriya away, he asked Sir Night-Eye if he knew about the vinegar riverbank incident. It turns out there was a boy with a quirk that turned water into vinegar, and he was saved by All Might, because the vinegar got into All Might's eyes. He had to smile with his eyes closed, and Midoriya had chosen to mimic that expression of his. Unexpectedly, Sir Night-Eye also knew a lot about the incident, so, the two of them began to discuss it, while Mirio untied Bubble Girl. He believed that Midoriya would be accepted by Sir Night-Eye. At this moment, Midoriya managed to get a position working in Sir Night-Eye's office. So, Sir Night-Eye stamped the form, but he stamped it on the outside, because he felt that accepting Midoriya was not beneficial for him. Sir Night-Eye would give Midoriya a chance. That was to steal Sir Night-Eye's seal within 3 minutes, and he told Mirio and Bubble Girl to go outside, making Mirio worried, because it would be very difficult for Midoriya to pass Sir Night-Eye's test. At this moment, Midoriya used One for All, and he immediately rushed to grab Sir Night-Eye's seal, but Sir Night-Eye easily avoided him. Unexpectedly, a minute passed. Midoriya still hadn't gotten close to Sir Night-Eye's seal. It turns out Sir Night-Eye's quirk is foresight. It allows him to see other people's futures by looking into their eyes, which made it difficult for Midoriya to figure out how to get the seal. Sir Night-Eye realized Midoriya received his quirk from All Might, but he was still too mediocre, so Sir Night-Eye thought Mirio was more deserving than Midoriya. At this moment, Midoriya realized Mirio was also a candidate for the One for All successor, but All Might chose Midoriya, which Sir Night-Eye couldn't understand. Midoriya knew All Might had placed his hopes in him, so he was determined to get Sir Night-Eye's seal, to force him to acknowledge him. Thus, Midoriya moved at very high speed, but Midoriya still couldn't get the seal. Sir Night-Eye even mocked him as a defective version of Gran Torino. At this moment, Sir Night-Eye continually used his quirk, so he easily avoided Midoriya. and he asked why All Might chose Midoriya. So, Midoriya replied, because I will become the greatest hero. And he threw all the papers towards Sir Night-Eye. It turns out Midoriya realized Sir Night-Eye wouldn't be able to predict chaotic flying objects. Taking this opportunity, he dashed to grab the seal. Unexpectedly, Sir Night-Eye was still able to dodge, causing Midoriya to crash into the wall. Finally, time was up, making Sir Night-Eye disappointed, because Midoriya was too inadequate to be All Might's disciple. Suddenly, he realized Midoriya had moved very carefully to avoid stepping on the pictures of All Might in the room. At this point, Midoriya thought he had failed. Suddenly, Mirio and Bubble Girl entered the room. Unexpectedly, Sir Night-Eye announced that Midoriya had been accepted, which surprised him. It turns out Sir Night-Eye had already decided to accept Midoriya, because he knew Midoriya wasn't useless. So, he gave the seal to Midoriya to stamp it on his application form. By afternoon, Midoriya's group was very happy, because they knew Midoriya had been accepted into Sir Night-Eye's office, while Bakugo and Shoto felt they were being left behind by him. At this moment, everyone was worried, because they didn't know where to turn. Suddenly, Aizawa announced that Fumikage had been chosen by Hawks, surprising everyone, because Hawks is the hero ranked 3rd. The next morning, Midoriya began his work. It turns out Sir Night-Eye was investigating Overhaul's gang. He suspected they might be connected to the League of Villains, so he instructed Midoriya and Mirio to patrol, making Midoriya anxious, because he still had little experience in patrolling. At this moment, Midoriya wondered what had happened between All Might and Sir Night-Eye. Suddenly, a little girl bumped into Midoriya, causing her to fall. So, Midoriya wanted to help her, but he realized she was scared. Suddenly, Overhaul appeared. Midoriya recognized him as the person Sir Night-Eye was searching for. At this moment, he was pretending to be the girl's father to deceive them. While Midoriya was confused, Mirio remained calm and spoke to him. He noticed Overhaul was very cautious. So, Mirio said they were just amateur heroes, and he urged Midoriya to leave first, but the girl still held onto Midoriya and asked him not to go. So, Midoriya realized the girl needed help. However, Overhaul said she was just a child. He saw Midoriya being serious, which made Overhaul uncomfortable, while Mirio wanted Midoriya to leave quickly. At this moment, Midoriya realized he couldn't ignore a scared child, so, Midoriya asked, "What have you done to the girl?" But Overhaul remained calm, and he told them to follow him, so he led them into an alley. Overhaul told them the girl's name was Eri. Suddenly, the girl saw Overhaul removing his gloves, so she ran to him to protect Midoriya and Mirio, making Midoriya confused about what Eri was doing. But he was stopped by Mirio, because he realized Overhaul was very dangerous, so they needed to inform Sir Night-Eye first. At this moment, Overhaul returned to his base. Unexpectedly, Overhaul killed his own subordinate, because he had let Eri escape, while Midoriya and Mirio told Sir Night-Eye everything, and he realized Eri was asking for his help. But Sir Night-Eye warned Midoriya if he pursued immediately, Overhaul would escape more easily, so they needed a plan and to inform other heroes. And he told them to go back first, making Midoriya feel frustrated, because he couldn't save the girl yet. At this moment, Overhaul took Eri to the laboratory, because she was the key to his plan. The next morning, Midoriya's class was very lively. But Midoriya was still worried, because he was thinking about Eri, which made it hard for Midoriya to concentrate. After school, Midoriya sought out All Might, surprising him. At this moment, Midoriya reprimanded All Might for not telling him that Mirio was a candidate for the One for All successor. So, All Might told Midoriya about his history with Sir Night-Eye. It turns out Sir Night-Eye was once a huge fan of All Might, and they had worked together for 5 years. But, since All Might was injured, they had stopped collaborating, because Sir Night-Eye wanted All Might to retire and find a successor. But, All Might still tried to train to leave the hospital soon, which made Sir Night-Eye angry, because he predicted that All Might would die. But, All Might wanted to continue being a hero to help people. Then, Midoriya learned everything. He was surprised, because All Might would die. At this moment, All Might remembered, previously, Sir Night-Eye had always opposed All Might choosing Midoriya, because he was quirkless. But, All Might still chose him. At this moment, Midoriya was very worried about All Might, because the deadline of Sir Night-Eye's prediction was approaching. So, Midoriya wanted All Might to live, to wait until he fulfilled his promise to All Might. But, All Might said, "I will definitely live," and he would change Sir Night-Eye's prediction. So, Midoriya also promised to fight against his own fate, making All Might very happy. Suddenly, Midoriya asked All Might to reconcile with Sir Night-Eye, making him confused. In the city, two villains were fighting each other, so Nejire went to stop them. It turns out her quirk is wave motion, allowing her to create shockwaves, so Ochako and Tsuyu supported Nejire. They quickly defeated the villains, making Nejire very surprised, because they worked very well. It turns out Dragoon Hero, ranked 9th, is Nejire's mentor. Suddenly, she announced they had an invitation to collaborate with Sir Night-Eye. Ochako realized it was where Midoriya was interning. At this moment, Overhaul and Tamura had arranged to meet, to discuss a partnership, making Overhaul uncomfortable, because Tamura put his feet on the table. It turns out Tamura didn't want to be Overhaul's subordinate, so he only wanted to cooperate, and Tamura demanded Overhaul reveal his plan. Suddenly, they aimed guns at Tamura's head, because they thought he was too arrogant, but Overhaul told his subordinates to back off. It turns out Tamura discovered the tranquilizer bullets were related to Overhaul. On Kirishima's side, he was patrolling with Fat Gum. It turns out Kirishima had asked Tamaki for an introduction earlier. Suddenly, they saw a group of villains, so Fat Gum used his body to block them. Unexpectedly, one of the villains managed to escape, but Tamaki quickly captured him with octopus tentacles. It turns out his quirk is manifest, allowing him to manifest features of anything he has consumed, surprising Kirishima, because he is very powerful. Suddenly, there was still one more villain outside, so he shot at them stealthily. It turns out his bullets were provided by Overhaul. Overhaul was explaining to Tamura that his bullets were improved from All for One's ability. Unexpectedly, Kirishima managed to block the bullet, but Tamaki was hit, causing him to be unable to activate his quirk. At this moment, Kirishima chased after the villain, and he immediately defeated him, but the villain started crying, surprising Kirishima, so he comforted him. Suddenly, the villain injected himself with a drug, which enhanced his quirk, surprising Kirishima, because the villain's quirk was now amplified, so he attacked Kirishima, causing Kirishima to bleed. Kirishima realized he had become stronger. When he continued to attack Kirishima, he immediately remembered All Might's advice. Instead of focusing on developing his own moves, Kirishima simply focused on developing his quirk, so Kirishima realized he needed to be even harder, and he was determined to become an unbreakable wall. Unexpectedly, his opponent's blades were broken. It turned out Kirishima called this form of his unbreakable, so Kirishima charged to attack him, and he threw an extremely powerful punch, causing him to be knocked away. Thus, Kirishima won. He realized his opponent's drug had worn off. When he was about to escape, he was then caught by Fat Gum. It turned out his quirk was fat absorption, allowing him to make anything stick to his body. At this moment, everyone thanked Kirishima's team, making him very happy. Suddenly, Kirishima noticed Tamaki could no longer use his quirk, surprising both Kirishima and Fat Gum, since he had never heard of a drug that nullifies other people's quirks. The next day when Kirishima went to school, to his surprise, everyone saw his picture in the newspaper. Ochako and Tsuyu were also featured in the news, making them very excited, while Midoriya was still thinking of ways to mend the relationship between All Might and Sir Night-Eye, because Sir Night-Eye thought Mirio was the one worthy of inheriting One for All, and he was also worried about Eri. The next morning, Midoriya's team and the Big Three were called to Sir Night-Eye's office, surprising them, because there were many professional heroes there. At this point, Sir Night-Eye announced to everyone that the meeting was about to begin, so Sir Night-Eye told everyone about the Overhaul organization, and Fat Gum talked about a drug that could erase quirks, surprising everyone. Fortunately, Tamaki had recovered after waking up. However, only Kirishima was unaffected by their bullets, because his quirk is hardening. Fat Gum said that he had analyzed their bullets, and he discovered they contained human blood, which surprised Midoriya and everyone. At this moment, Sir Night-Eye revealed to everyone that Overhaul's real name is Chisaki, and his quirk is Overhaul, allowing him to destroy and recreate anything. He even created bullets that nullify quirks, which surprised Midoriya and Mirio. Since Eri is related to Chisaki's plan, everyone thought Chisaki had used Eri's blood to make the bullets, which shocked everyone. But Sir Night-Eye discovered that their bullets were only prototypes, so they hadn't developed the final version of the bullets yet. Sir Night-Eye realized they needed to quickly prevent their plan. At this point, Midoriya and Mirio vowed that they would definitely save Eri. But the heroes realized that rescuing Eri was very difficult, because Eri is key to his plan. Aizawa asked why Sir Night-Eye didn't use his predictive quirk. However, Sir Night-Eye said his quirk could only be used once a day, and it could only be used for up to 1 hour. It allows Sir Night-Eye to see a person's life like a film, but he didn't want to see anyone's death, so his quirk is only used when necessary to help them increase their chances of success. Midoriya realized that Sir Night-Eye was still haunted by the issue with All Might. At this moment, Sir Night-Eye said, their main task now was to locate their base. By the afternoon, Midoriya and Mirio were still disheartened. They felt regretful for not being able to save Eri yet. At this point, Aizawa stepped in and encouraged them. He told Midoriya, do what you believe is right, which helped Midoriya and Mirio regain their spirits. So, Mirio and Midoriya believed that this time they would succeed. At this point, Midoriya's team had returned to the academy. While they waited for the professional heroes to investigate Chisaki's base location, they tried to focus on their training. Midoriya was determined to protect Eri, causing Lita and Shoto to feel that Midoriya was acting very strange, because he was constantly distracted. Lita said, if you don't know what to do, just tell us, because we're friends, causing Midoriya to cry. But Midoriya couldn't reveal the plan to them. Meanwhile, the professional heroes were still trying to find their base, while Mirio and Midoriya were waiting, because they wanted to rescue Eri quickly. That night, Midoriya still couldn't sleep. Suddenly, he received a call, so Midoriya's team gathered immediately. They realized the plan was about to start. At this point, Mirio's team also assembled. He and Midoriya were determined to save Eri. The next morning, Sir Night-Eye gathered everyone. It turned out that earlier, he had seen the man buying items for the little girl, so Sir Night-Eye used his quirk on him. Thanks to that, he was able to locate their base and Eri. At this point, Mirio was very excited, because they were about to attack their base. Sir Night-Eye realized Mirio had always regretted that he couldn't save Eri, so they began changing into their hero costumes to prepare for the fight. On Chisaki's side, he realized the heroes were moving, so he told his subordinates to prepare. While the heroes and police had gathered, they discovered that Chisaki's base had many tunnels, and Eri was imprisoned in the deepest room, so they set out. They quickly assembled in front of Chisaki's base. At this point, they thought the villains were afraid. Suddenly, they were attacked first, surprising everyone. Fortunately, Midoriya and Aizawa managed to save the police officers, so the large villain continued to attack them. Dragoon Hero immediately used his quirk to capture him, allowing everyone to quickly rush inside. Meanwhile, Chisaki remained calm, because he had predicted the heroes would come here. He had sent his strongest subordinates to block them, to give him time to move Eri away. At this point, Midoriya's team helped the police control the villains, so the professional heroes were able to get inside. Sir Night-Eye, based on his previous prediction, found a secret entrance. Suddenly, the villains appeared, but they were immediately subdued by them. So, Sir Night-Eye's team went into the basement. Suddenly, one of Chisaki's subordinates used a quirk-enhancing drug, allowing him to merge with the basement, causing the basement to twist and distort. Everyone realized he was Irinaka, and his quirk allowed him to merge his body with objects, causing concern among everyone. They didn't know how to deal with him, since Aizawa couldn't find him to erase his quirk, while Tamaki was also very eager to save Eri, but he lacked confidence. So, Mirio encouraged Tamaki, and he immediately stepped forward. Seeing Mirio's bravery, helped Tamaki regain his spirit. Suddenly, they were transported by Irinaka to another room, so they continued to face Chisaki's subordinates. As Fat Gum was preparing to fight them, Tamaki then stopped him, because he would fight them alone, to allow the others to continue rescuing Eri, causing them concern. When a villain attacked them, he was erased of his quirk by Aizawa. So, Tamaki used his octopus tentacles to capture and throw them. At this point, he continued to persuade everyone to leave. Therefore, they decided to trust Tamaki and leave, surprising Midoriya. Tamaki told Midoriya, please help Mirio. At this point, they had subdued the villains. It turned out that earlier Aizawa had used his quirk erasure, so they couldn't use their quirks. When Tamaki was about to knock them out, the villain immediately attacked him. It turned out their quirks had returned, so they attacked Tamaki, causing Tamaki to recall his past. Previously, Tamaki was always criticized, because he didn't know how to use his quirk, causing Tamaki to lose all confidence. But he saw that Mirio was also mocked by others. However, Mirio remained very confident, making Tamaki admire Mirio. As they were leaving, Tamaki praised Mirio as an outstanding person. But Mirio felt that Tamaki was the amazing one, because even though he was always worried, Tamaki never ran away, and Mirio gave Tamaki the nickname Sun Eater. At this point, Tamaki regained his confidence, so he used his new move called Vast Hybrid Chimera. Thus, Tamaki attacked the villains. Unexpectedly, one of them cut off his octopus tentacles. It turned out he could eat anything. They believed he was the counter to Tamaki, so they pushed him back. Quickly, they captured Tamaki. At this point, Tamaki realized that these three were willingly serving and idolizing Chisaki, so they didn't realize Chisaki was using them. Suddenly, Tamaki kicked Toya in the eye, because his quirk could steal anything he looked at. When Hojo tried to deal with Tamaki, unexpectedly, he was able to create crystals. It turned out Tamaki had eaten a piece of his crystals earlier, so he immediately delivered a powerful kick to them. Finally, Tamaki won. At this point, Tamaki was also very exhausted, thus, he collapsed. On Midoriya's side, they tried to chase after Eri. Irinaka realized Aizawa was the hardest to deal with, so he attacked him first to separate him. Unexpectedly, Fat Gum pushed Aizawa away, causing him to fall into another room. Suddenly, he saw Kirishima was also there. It turned out he had jumped in to rescue Aizawa and Fat Gum. But a villain immediately appeared and attacked Kirishima, causing him to be pushed against the wall. Fat Gum thought Kirishima had blocked the villain's stab, but Kirishima's arm was injured. So, Fat Gum immediately attacked him, but he was protected by a barrier. It turned out to be the quirk of Hekiji, so Rappa continued to attack Fat Gum. He realized this one was very strong, while Kirishima's arm was in great pain, causing him to feel disappointed, because he thought he had become stronger. But Fat Gum told Kirishima not to lose his will, so Hekiji continued to create barriers, allowing Rappa to continue attacking Fat Gum. Unexpectedly, he managed to injure Fat Gum, but he still didn't give up, making both of them excited, so they continued to fight each other. Kirishima realized Fat Gum was taking the damage for him. While he was too scared to move, he saw Rappa continuously punching Fat Gum, making Kirishima feel useless. At this moment, Kirishima remembered his past. It turned out he hated bullies very much, so Kirishima always tried to help others. Although his quirk was still weak, he had seen Mina talk to the bullies. Unexpectedly, they had made peace, surprising Kirishima. It turned out Mina was a student with very good physical abilities, and she wanted to apply to Ua High School. At this point, Kirishima also wanted to apply to Ua High School like Mina, but he wasn't confident he could pass. When Kirishima was on his way home, he accidentally encountered a large villain, who was threatening two girls to show him the way, causing him to be terrified, so Kirishima's body couldn't move. Suddenly, Mina appeared, and she pointed the way for him, so the villain left, causing Mina to cry, because she was also very frightened, while Kirishima was blaming himself, because he was so terrified he couldn't move. At home, he read the news about a student who dared to confront a villain to save a friend, making Kirishima feel discouraged, because he was too weak. Suddenly, Kirishima saw an interview with Crimson Riot. He was the hero Kirishima idolized. Crimson Riot said, "I am also very afraid when facing danger, but I am a hero, so I will save everyone and am ready to sacrifice for them," causing Kirishima to cry, so he decided to apply to Ua High School. After that, Kirishima began to work hard on his training, and finally, he passed the entrance exam to Ua High School. When Mina saw Kirishima's hair dyed red, she was surprised, because Kirishima had resolved to become a hero to protect others. At this moment, Kirishima was trying to overcome his fear, while Fat Gum was still trying to endure, to absorb all of Rappa's attacks. It turned out he was gathering energy to deliver a powerful counterattack. But Fat Gum needed time. While he was in danger, suddenly, Kirishima immediately blocked Rappa's punches. Unexpectedly, Hekiji created a barrier to stop him. It turned out he realized Fat Gum had finished gathering his power, so he delivered a powerful punch. Unexpectedly, the punch broke the barrier, and he immediately defeated them. Finally, Fat Gum and Kirishima won. At this point, Chisaki was still taking Eri away. It turned out Tamura had sent Himiko and twice to assist him. On Fat Gum and Kirishima's side, they thought they had defeated the villains. Unexpectedly, Rappa was still able to stand up, causing Fat Gum to worry, because he no longer had strength. Suddenly, he pointed them to the first aid room, surprising them. He didn't understand why he wanted to help them, but Hekiji scolded Rappa for wanting to help the enemy, but Hekiji was immediately taken down by Rappa. At this point, Rappa told them he came from an underground fighter background, so he always yearned for a life or death match, and he thought Fat Gum and Kirishima were amazing, because they made him experience a life or death battle. Rappa was especially interested in Kirishima, so he wanted to help them, thus, Kirishima could fight him once more. At this point, Fat Gum felt very proud of Kirishima. Because he had become a man, while Mirio, Midoriya, and Sir Night-Eye were still trying to chase after Chisaki. But Irinaka continued to block them. At this point, Fat Gum asked Rappa why he became Chisaki's subordinate. It turned out Chisaki had defeated him before. Rappa thought he was dead. Unexpectedly, he was revived by Chisaki, causing Fat Gum to start worrying, because he realized Chisaki was very strong. On Midoriya's side, they were still being controlled by Irinaka, so Rocklock used his quirk, allowing him to lock tightly onto any object he touched. He locked the room shut, making Irinaka angry, so he attacked them. Midoriya immediately used One for All, and he blocked Irinaka's attack, making Irinaka very angry, because he found Midoriya too troublesome. While Midoriya was very eager to save Eri, suddenly, Irinaka separated Midoriya's group, so they began to be more cautious. On Rocklock's side, he was attacked by Himiko. Unexpectedly, he used his hand to block it, and Rocklock immediately punched Himiko, but it was only one of her clones, so Himiko immediately punched Rocklock in the back. When Midoriya and Aizawa arrived, suddenly, they saw two Rocklocks. At this moment, Aizawa realized this Rocklock was a fake, so he attacked Midoriya, but Aizawa quickly used Erasure, revealing Himiko's true form. While she was very happy to see Midoriya, but Himiko was immediately restrained by Aizawa. Unexpectedly, Aizawa was also stabbed in the shoulder by Himiko, so Himiko left. Aizawa realized that Chisaki and the League of Villains had allied. At this point, Midoriya remembered Himiko was the one who had disguised herself as Kami, while Himiko was very happy, because she had met Midoriya. On the other side, Twice had arrived at Sir Night-Eye's room, and he ordered Rappa's clone to attack, but Sir Night-Eye was very strong. He immediately defeated Rappa's clone, surprising Twice, so Sir Night-Eye attacked and tore his mask, causing Twice to be frightened and flee. When Twice was losing control, causing him to be unable to control his body. Fortunately, Himiko managed to help him, so Twice calmed down. At this moment, both remembered that they had previously opposed Tamura's plan to ally with Chisaki, because he had killed Magna, causing both of them discomfort, because Tamura was forcing them to do something they disliked. Suddenly, Tamura became serious and explained to them, from the beginning, Chisaki had not respected them, so everything he did was for everyone's sake. Tamura said, "I trust you too," and both decided to follow Tamura's orders. At this moment, Himiko was taunting Irinaka, because from the start, the League of Villains had no intention of helping them, so Irinaka decided to kill everyone. At this time, Midoriya was trying to locate Irinaka, while Irinaka was very angry with Himiko and Twice. Accidentally, Midoriya heard his voice, so he used One for All and rushed at him at high speed. Aizawa also immediately used Erasure, causing him to be unable to use his quirk, and he was immediately knocked out by Sir Night-Eye with a stamp, so they managed to defeat Irinaka. At this moment, Sir Night-Eye realized that they had been used by the League of Villains to defeat Chisaki. Finally, Mirio caught up with Chisaki, and he was determined to save Eri, surprising Chisaki. Today's video ends here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support Oni-chan in the next videos. Thank you for watching. Love you all.